On the morning of August 26, 2026, the Bhote Koshi River corridor in Nepal's Rasuwa district seemed entirely normal. Weather stations in the area recorded dry conditions, registering less than 7 millimeters of rain over the previous 24 hours. There was no monsoon storm in sight. Yet, at approximately 9 a.m., a massive wall of muddy water roared down the mountain, slamming into the border settlements with zero warning. The surge obliterated the newly built border infrastructure, tearing through the Timue customs office and ripping away concrete roads. The initial human toll was devastating. Authorities quickly confirmed at least 95 people dead, but the crisis rapidly expanded. Nearly 400 individuals, including dozens of hydropower workers and international pilgrims traveling to Tibet, vanished into the debris. The Nepali army and armed police force immediately mobilized, deploying helicopters to extract survivors from cut-off regions and evacuate casualties for medical treatment. A surge of this size typically follows days of heavy downpours. Without a storm to supply the water, something else generated a flood capable of this level of destruction. Finding the source requires looking miles upstream, crossing the border from Nepal into the high-altitude peaks of the Tibetan Plateau. 7 minutes before the water reached the border crossing, the U.S. Geological Survey recorded a 4.4 magnitude earthquake, striking deep within Tibet. A 4.4 quake is relatively moderate, but in a highly unstable alpine environment, the shaking acted as a catalyst, vibrating through heavily fractured ice formations. Thousands of tons of ice and rock sheared off the mountain face, plunging violently toward the Lende River basin below. The tremors themselves didn't destroy the infrastructure in Nepal. The earthquake simply provided the kinetic energy required to trigger a much larger, hidden hydrological event. Directly in the path of that avalanche sat a superglacial lake, a massive pool of meltwater resting precariously near a glacier, held back only by a fragile dam of loose earth and rocks. When the avalanche crashed into the lake, it violently displaced the water, shattering the natural dam instantly. Millions of gallons accelerated rapidly down the steep mountain canyon. Scraping the canyon walls, the surge absorbed massive amounts of dirt and boulders, transforming into a dense, high-velocity slurry. Flowing water causes flooding. Flowing concrete crushes things. That extreme density explains why the modern border facilities were pulverized upon impact. Back on the Nepali side of the border, the trail of that slurry wave exposed severe vulnerabilities in the region's physical infrastructure. The country's energy grid took a massive hit. The flood heavily damaged 6 major run-of-the-river hydropower facilities and transmission lines, disconnecting a critical portion of Nepal's electricity generation capacity. Just 14 months prior, in July 2025, a nearly identical supraglacial flood decimated this exact same river corridor. This chart compares temperature changes over the last 50 years, showing that the Himalayan region is warming at a significantly faster rate than the global average. As the heat rises, glaciers melt faster, exponentially increasing both the size and the frequency of unstable glacial lakes across the Tibetan Plateau. For the communities and infrastructure built below the roof of the world, the baseline of danger has permanently moved. Predicting a flood no longer means watching the sky for heavy rain. It requires monitoring the high-altitude ice inevitable collapse.